Welcome everybody to the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. My name's Scott and we are continuing to look at our urban parking system repository that we've been developing up over the last few sessions in Enterprise Architect. And recently we've been looking at some strategic models, and we've covered everything from SWOT analysis to decision trees and much more. But today I understand that we're going to be taking a look at something which is a little bit different, which is a strategy map. So welcome, Stephen. Great to have you with us again today. Could you tell us a little bit about what a strategy map is and how you can build it in Enterprise Architect?
Thanks for the introduction, Scott, and I'm delighted to be here. Strategy maps. They're an important visualization tool that helps organizations see their main goals, their objectives, and understand how these various goals and objectives connect and relate, and then to explore these things in more detail. And it's broken up into a number of perspectives, and we'll see how that works when we create a strategy map for ourselves. As always, we're going to set our perspective in Enterprise Architect, and we do that by going to the top right-hand section of the application. I've been doing some work on glossaries this morning, and now we need to set our perspective to strategic modeling. So we choose the perspective set, strategy, and then all strategy. The tool, of course, changes its shape, and you can see in here we have a number of pre-built patterns that we can inject into our models. So, we've done things with balanced scorecard before. Now we're looking at strategy maps, and you can see that there's already a pre-built one there. I can inject that into my model just by saying create model, but as always, Scott, I want to do things from first principles and show people exactly how this model is built up. So we'll close the builder page there, and let's take a quick look at what strategic models we've already got. This is our navigation page, and we've got a number of navigation buttons on there. If we click on this little icon in the bottom left-hand corner of strategic models, you can see that we have a number of other models that we've already done. We can link through to those, connecting just by pressing that button and connecting to these models. But our focus is on the strategy map today. So again, as always, we need a location for this in the project browser. So we choose strategic models and expand that one. We've got a number of them there. So now we're going to create another package using the package icon in the browser toolbar, and we're going to call it strategy map. And we'll create that package, and we'll create a diagram, the strategy map. So here we have an existing set of diagram types. So we'll choose strategic modeling there, and you can see that strategy map is one of the items that we have. So we create a diagram, and let's just leave it as strategy map for the moment, and we'll talk about the naming of it. So the tool has done its work, changed the focus to the strategy map, and you can see there's a toolbox available with a number of different items and a single connector there. And we've got a blank canvas. So how do we start this thing? Well, the best way to start it is to start with the perspectives. So let's have a look at that. Not what kind of perspectives we're going to put into our tool. So we'll choose the perspective, drop it onto the diagram canvas, and you can see that Enterprise Architect knows what these perspectives are, and it's given us the canonical list, or the typical list of things: financial, customer, internal, and learning and growth. Let's put on financial first. It's usually the starting point there. We've got our financial perspective. Let's drop another perspective on that, which is the customer perspective. We'll just line those guys up there. Enterprise Architect does that work for us. And we'll put on the other two perspectives, the internal perspective and the learning and growth perspective. So we'll line those up, and we might want them to be a little bit longer than that for what we want to model today. Some organizations will use them as they are, but I want to make them slightly bigger. I'm just going to select all of them, holding the control key down and using my right arrow there. We get a larger kind of swim lane or perspective there. Now, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some strategy things. So I'm going to put in strategy into the financial thing, and I'm going to call this productivity strategy. That's a big focus on what we want. We want productivity. Reshape this element so it's kind of about that size. It sticks out the color that it is again. And another strategy is the growth strategy. So any organization typically goes through growth, and it's important to be able to put that down as a strategy. So we can put these elements here and here now. We can make them the same size using the layout ribbon, so same size width there, and we can see using the guidelines there that they're all nicely lined up. So now let's make a little bit of a start on our strategy map here. So the first thing we're going to put in as an objective is the key thing that's going to start all of this work off is an objective, and we'll put that in right in the center here, and we'll call it the long-term strategy, long-term stakeholder value. So that's an important starting element that we're going to use, and let's put some notes in that. As always, Scott, I want to tell people the importance of putting notes in. I'm going to expand this out a little bit so we can see it, move things around a little bit, and let's put in some notes in here. So long-term stakeholder value creation requires balancing the diverse needs of employees, customers, shareholders, and communities while maintaining sustainable business practice. So the notes describe what all that's about. And so how are we going to increase our productivity? So let's have a look at that. And here, and we'll choose another objective here. And let's say improve the cost structure. So we'll drop another one onto the screen here, onto the canvas, and it's another objective, and we'll put that in there, and then we'll start creating some links. And so we'll link that one up with there. And so having done that link there, we'll put another one of these in. We'll say increase asset utilization. Actually, maybe we'll do one on the other side, enhance customer value. Let's do that. We'll put that on the growth side, so we're sure about what we're doing here. So we'll put that in as an objective over here. Enhance customer value. Remembering all the time to be putting notes into here, and you can see how quick this is to do and how easy it is with the guidelines that are there that are helping us. And so now let's move into our customer perspective, and have a look at what things we're going to be putting in there. So what we want to do is put in a proposition, and let's put that in here. So we need a proposition. Notice the toolbox has got all these things conveniently laid out for you, and we'll call it the customer value proposition.
Yeah.
So an important thing, what's the value proposition to the customer? So we can keep moving through this and doing the strategy map. And the next thing we would want to do over here is to put in some processes. So we'll just do one of those, and then we'll have a look at finishing off the diagram. So in the internal perspective, we've got some processes that we need to put in. So let's put that one in, and we'll put that right there. Notice that this is a class, and it's giving us some information about the parentage of this element. So what I'm going to do is always with these diagrams is I'm going to go to the diagram properties, and I'm going to turn off fully scoped object names, which comes on by default. And that gives me gets rid of a little bit of what you might call the noise of the thing, because we already know it's in the
that makes the diagram easier to read. And yes.
And there are times, Scott, when it's incredibly important to have that in there, to have that chain.
Probably more likely on a technical diagram where it is, even though it is a useful thing on other diagrams as well, business ones, where you can see what the history of this one. We did one with SWOT analysis, I think, and I'm just going to flick over to that very quickly and show you that thing here. So
we had the ability to click through there. There's an example in the strategic modelling where we've got the parentage or the lineage of the element, SWOT analysis, opportunities, mobile solutions. So that's a very
that
useful
helps
thing.
provide context. Yeah,
exactly. So let's close that now and move back to our strategy map. But a very good point and salient in trying to get people to create diagrams that are useful and appropriate and meaningful to their audience. And while you're creating these diagrams, I always encourage you do a little bit of modeling, do a little bit of drawing, and check with the audience and make sure it's the kind of diagram that they want. It's got the kind of detail on it. So with that done, Scott, let's go and get you to perform some magic, because we need to finish this diagram. And there's a lot of elements that we want to put onto this to make it into a useful and complete diagram. So I'll get you to perform some of your magic, and we'll see if we can't get this diagram knocked over pretty quickly.
Oh, we've performed some magic, and now we've gone through and completed all the steps for our strategy map. We've got a very bright, colourful diagram showing some of the various perspectives, the customer perspective, the internal perspective, the financial perspective. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what this diagram tells us about our parking meter system and how we can gain value from some of this information.
Yeah, Scott. Well, the title of the diagram, tells the story. It's a map, so something to guide you in the discipline of strategy. So a lot of times strategy's done outside a tool like Enterprise Architect, but the value of doing it inside the tool, it's immense. Being able to have that strategy in there, no matter whereabouts anyone's working in a different part of the model, whether they're a systems engineer, a testing analyst, a developer, a project manager, database engineer, anywhere they're working in the model, they'll be able to get traceability back to the strategy and understand what the strategy was. And this isn't just a strategy for, what kind of meters we want to put out there, but it's a much higher level strategy than that. It's things like improving the cost structure, enhancing customer value. What's the quality aspect of the quality proposition from the user's point of view? What about the branding? How are the internal processes? How is innovation being realized? So again, and as always, connecting these models to other models is a really useful thing to do. So we could link up this innovation process to all sorts of other things that are going on in the organization. So that's kind of what's happening with that. And I could again link here, and I'll use the example of the mobile app again to do this. Select the composite diagram. I'm going to try and link to another diagram, and here we'll do a search, and we'll look for smartphone app, if you like, and find that. You get the list of diagrams, diagram names there, and process smartphone payments. So that might be an interesting diagram to link to. And let's have a look at what that diagram looks like. We can press this little button here, and we can see that there's a sequence diagram that talks about the processing those payments. We've got a near field communication reader here, which allows people to tap with their phone onto the parking meter. And these are some of the kind of innovations that customers would expect. It's part of our strategy to try and provide that availability, that selection, that service. And how we're doing it, we're doing it through these innovation processes, and we're linking directly to some of the models that are connecting that. So we're all the time creating this traceability. We're creating this story, this narrative that's all connected together. And think about a novel or a piece of writing, Scott. It would be strange if the characters in a particular plot didn't communicate with each other. You weren't able to trace through and understand the relationship between them. And it's the same in this. When you're telling a story in Enterprise Architect, you're wanting to try and create that narrative. And the diagrams, the matrices, the tables, all of these different ways of representing information are all available through the model, all connected, creating that traceability and ensuring that the whole thing is a single view of the entire system, right from the strategy right down to the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. I think that's really good, and I know I've had a bit of experience in governance roles, and sometimes organizations, when they lose track of their strategy and don't embed it in some of their underlying practices, they can go off the rails quite quickly. So I can see where something like this would always bring things back to, we'll think about the long-term shareholder value and, the improve the cost structure by implementing our urban parking meter system to meet some of those core objectives so that they don't get lost. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I'd like to encourage all of our customers that have seen the videos here on the Spark Systems YouTube site to like, comment, and subscribe. We always like to tell you about Enterprise Architect and other Spark Systems tools. So if you're subscribed, you'll get to hear about the latest and greatest videos as they come online. Stephen, as always, I'd like to thank you very much for all your time and effort today. If you have any questions for Stephen, please feel free to reach out via the LinkedIn and other contact details that are contained in the description of this video below. Thank you once again, Stephen. Really appreciate it. It's great seeing how strategy can be embedded and built and designed within Enterprise Architect. So thanks so much.
Thanks, Scott. Always delighted to be here and sharing knowledge.
Thank you.